share the recording with you, and I will share the presentation with you as well. So I'll just wait for half hour or so after the session just to see if we get anybody new on the group, and then I will share the necessary. Okay, so today we're just gonna continue with our exam prep. So again, some questions that you guys have shared on the chat and shared with me. So again, please, if as you go along and practice, please share more of the things that you see. I've also included some questions from our old exam paper, and I will just continue doing that as we go through these last sessions to prep you for the exam. At least we still got some time for the 30th, so we will go just through examples and more examples. Okay, so this was one of the ones that was also posted on the chat. So let's quickly look at the question and see. So Mr. Mangena invested an amount of 13,890 divided into two different schemes, A and B, at a simple interest rate of 14% per annum and 11% per annum, respectively. If the total amount of simple interest earned in the 3 years is 5,508, what was the amount invested in scheme B? Sure. Okay, let me quickly. So we don't know, unless I'm misreading it. We don't know how that 13,850 is divided. Let me just read this again. Mr. Mangena invested an amount of that divided into two different schemes, A and B, at a simple interest of 14%, 11%. If the total amount of simple interest earned in 3 years is, so after 3 years, that total amount is 5,508. Do we know how much was invested in scheme B? Okay, so let's quickly see what is the simple interest rate. How we will look at that formula, and it might be that this is actually more to do with merely writing two formulas and then working it out. Let me just, firstly, I just want to check again what is the simple interest formula. I don't have it with me on hand, so let me just check I think it's the interest is equal to in your textbooks, it's PIN. So that is a formula. Okay, let's just check. So if I've got that formula, I've got the interest. I've got that. I've got that. So what is that gonna tell me? Okay. So if a total amount of simple interest earned in 3 years. Shoo, this is actually a difficult one. Does anybody have idea what to do with this one? You can look at the simple interest. So we might get an average interest, but will that help us at all to say what this split is? Okay, so you worked it from that way around to say, because it should not be that long, but if you did that, what was your answer? Let's just see if there is an easy way to. Okay, so that was. Okay, so let's quickly just check something. So I'm just gonna, so 5508 13 810. Okay, so let's just see if we do this. What we get. I just want to, so what's that? 13890 times 3. So if I work out the interest rate with what they're giving us, it will be 13.22%. So that tells me, the only thing that tells me is that it is higher than the 11, but it doesn't really tell me anything else. That as a fraction of that, can't really see that really working as well. Sure, this is actually a very, very strange one. I am gonna see, let me work this out later tonight and see if it must not work out with excess and the percentages and then add it up. But it's really a difficult one. There's not, so if we say 3620 divided by 5508, okay, so it's also not even easy to say the percentage split. Okay, I need to think about this one a bit longer. Um, so what I'm nearly thinking is to write a formula that is nearly what I'm after. So maybe the X is in front there. But that assumes that it is. Yeah, so if I use this formula, it assumes that it is in the same ratio, that both is using the same amount. So that doesn't really work out. Okay, I'm gonna check this and play with it and see what I get. This is really not the easy one. Um, and they would, even if you've gotten it right when you did it, there was no feedback in how to do it. So let me go and play with these numbers, um, and see between the two formulas, if there is not something that one needs to put into both formulas. It feels to me that between this formula and this formula, one might be able to solve something, but I need to just go and check. This really is a difficult one, so I would not have even known what to guess if I needed to guess as well. Total amount of simple interest. Yeah, that amount of interest. Interest is also, if I look at, I'm just I'm just writing a few things down. So and sorry, it's not to the power of 3, it's simple interest. So it should be in the sum. Okay, so assignment 2. Okay, so yeah, so that's why it feels like it's probably more to do with how I break it up. So let me see. So so it was 3, and there should be a 3 there in front as well. So let's just, so we've got that in a sense, because we know what the total interest was. We've got that. So it might be that I need to play. Okay, so let me go and check this one. Um, Sure, this is quite a difficult question. So it was from assignment 2, and then it was repeated in your mock exam probably as well. Okay, so I will go and check this one out, that we get the answer for you guys. And if it was from assignment 2, it's probably a mix of maths finance linked to one of the equations that we need to broaden out a bit. Okay, so let me not spend the whole evening on this. I will go and check this out to see what the answer is. Okay, so I'm going to move that to the end so that I just make sure that next week or next time I have the answer for you, I will share it on the group as well. Okay, so hopefully then the others are not too bad that was shared with me. Okay, so let's look at this one. So at 8:15, Bonita left her house to drive to the airport. If anybody got idea how to do this, you can send something to the WhatsApp group or even to this chat. Okay, so at 8:15, Bonita left her house to drive to the airport at the average speed of 65 kilometers per hour. Okay, so let's just at 8:15. At 9 o'clock, her boyfriend, Bernard, left Bonita's house and followed her path at an average speed of 104 kilometers per hour. Okay, so she's traveling at 65 kilometers an hour. Then Bernard leaves at 9 o'clock at the average speed of 104 kilometers an hour and arrived at the airport at exactly the same time. So at this time, whatever that is, both of them arrive at the airport. A linear relationship exists between the time and the distance traveled. The time is independent on the number of kilometers traveled. Answer the following questions. 1. Determine the distance from Bonita's house to the airport correct to 2 decimal places. Determine the time they arrive at the airport. Okay, so what we can say is, I'm just quickly checking all these options. Okay, so let's redraw this. So that we see it as the distance in both, and that we just take a bit to the front. Okay, so distance stays the same. Then we have that she travels from 8:15, 65 kilometers. He travels from 904 kilometers an hour, and then they'll meet at the same time. Okay, so what would you have done in this instance? I'm thinking of some kind of ratio, but any ideas from your side? What would you have have done to work this out. So there's a 45-minute time delay. So any ideas? It's quite interesting. I'm just not looking at answers yet, but just interesting to note that in two of the answers and that component in two of the answers. Okay, so how would you guys go about this? So you need to think about looking at two equations that you can equate to be equal. Okay, so let's quickly say distance is equal to okay, so let's quickly, I would have said, okay, so let's say so that distance is similar. So 65 kilometers an hour. So the one will be, let's quickly check on the time. The one will be, I just want to get this right, x minus 45 minutes. It might be that we need to change that into 45 divided by 60, just to show the delay in the minutes. So that is the important one that we just need to clarify. So let's just, these are quite difficult, quite two difficult questions thus far. So let's say the distance traveled is x. So, sorry, the time traveled is x. So the one will be x, and just go with my thinking and say if I'm thinking wrong because of the kilometers per hours. X minus 45 will be equal to x. So let's bring in, so that is the time. Bring in 65, bring in 104. Will that give us the option? Let me quickly, sure. So let's just make that a fraction. I am worried that the 45 minutes will, okay, so let's say that is, will something like this work? I am really just now free thinking this. And please, if you have anything else, let's quickly check. think we should calculate the final because you get the time. Okay, so you want to do the time first. So how would your formula look for that? So let's say I would have probably played with the numbers like in the previous one nearly. So how would your formula look like for, I'm missing something here. I was at the airport at exactly the same time. A linear relationship exists between the time and the distance traveled. The time is dependent on the number of kilometers traveled. Ugh, my brain is a blank actually. This is not gonna help at all because it's not okay. Sure, I should have looked at it before we started the session. Um, Distance the same. So if I travel 65 kilometers an hour, times, I see that brings into, no man, this can't be that difficult. What am I missing? And so I would have probably, like the previous one, let's just quickly check. So if it is an hour and so if it was 10:15, I just want to see that would have been 2 hours at the top. So that would have been 130 kilometers. If it is 1 hour, 15 minutes, that will also be 300 and so that would be 15 divided by 60. Okay, so 2 hours and 115 minutes will give you that. It looks like option D is the right one, but why? Okay, so what fractions are we using? Are we using fractions? Let's quickly check. So 1.6. And so I know the answer should be D. It's, but how to get to it now via formula is the weird one. So does it change in the 45 minutes if we say X? That one is x. And so the distance, if that is x, the distance is you. Okay, now I can see why you guys struggled with this. For both questions nearly, if one have the answers, one can work it backwards, but I am totally a blank here on this one. So was D the right answer? I'm just now trying to think about this one. Sheikh. Um, so we know the distance are similar. And what's the formula for average speed? But we just get those things, the basics down. So I'm just quickly going to Google what is average speed. It's time. Okay, total distance divided by total time. Total distance divided by total time. Okay, so I'm just writing it somewhere. Divided by total time. Yeah, I will do that. I will send it on the WhatsApp group. Let's quickly. Let's see if I can paste it in this. Okay, so it is also in the chat if that can assist you so long. Total distance, total time. So we know that total distance is the same. So the total time is going to be different. Okay, so the one is 65 kilometers per hour. So let's quickly, so total time, so that is average. So the 65 is total distance over total time. 104 is equal to total distance over total time. Okay, we know that the total distances are the same, so let's just rewrite as total distance is total time times the average. Okay, so one total distance, the total time is x minus that times 65 is equal to 104 times x, which is time. So if it takes for one, that takes for other. Okay, so it takes this one, not less than, so that, so must that be plus, or what must that one be negative? So so that is the time. This one is 45 minutes less. Let's, let's hope this does give us something. I doubt it. So that is 65x is 104x minus 45 divided by 60 times 104. I get that as 78. So if I take this to this side, 104 minus 65 gives me minus 59. X is equal to minus 79. X is equal to 2. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sheesh. Okay, so, okay, we got it. So X is 2, then the other X will be 2 minus the 45 over 60, which will give us that. But I actually needed to go back to what is the formula of average distance to say it's total distance divided by total time. Yo. Okay, so again, I don't even know if that is somewhere in the study guide. So I will just go and check this in the study guide as well. So so please send me more of these. I will just beforehand next time go and work this out. So we at least got that the time it took for her was 2 hours. The time it took for him was 1 hour and 15. So we got to the 10:15. Yes, yes. You could do it with the systems of linear equations. And that is what I nearly did here in the end. One must just make sure what your formula is at the beginning. So that is basically what you need to do with this one. Systems of linear equations it will be, but you need to also have known that average speed is equal to the total distance divided by the total time. Okay, and because the distance stays the same, you can say these two equations are equal. Okay, because the distance are the same. Or they should have given you the distance, but now that we know what the time is again, we can work out the distance because the time is 2, so 2 times 65 will give us 150. So the one thing that we needed to know from this one is what does average speed actually mean? Which is total distance divided by total time. And then with that in mind, we create these two formulas that we can put into a system of linear equations. Okay, so by a very long way and time, we got to what we needed to do. Um, and I don't know if I will check the study guide if there is actually anything like this in the study guide about average speed and those things, because I haven't seen, and it could have been somewhere again in the first chapters that they talked about it, but one nearly needs to go back to the average speed formula. I don't see that there's anywhere that one is talking about it, so it's probably something that they expect us to know what the formula is, because they give us all the information. But yeah, I needed to, so I quickly now Googled what the average speed is. So I'm just going to put this image in for you guys in this presentation as well, that one just have it for if we need it again. Just say undo. If we need it again for something, or if you need it, then at least you have it. I think that is, so if some question like this comes up again, you have the average speed formula that one can just work from there. Okay, and that's probably what with the previous question as well is most likely again need to look at the systems of linear equation for that one and see if we don't need to do the same. So for the other one that I skipped, I think this will probably be the same process, that it is. Did it come from the same assignment? This question and the previous one that I struggled with, was this from the same assignment? Okay, so then this one probably is, and that's why I nearly went there. But I just need to get the thinking right for that one. So it's probably again to do with the different interest calculations, and we split that up. But yeah, so that I will check for you guys. So now that one looks at it, it is actually not too bad to work this out. And now that you see the average speed formula as well, it's actually not too bad. But to get to there, it took me quite some time. So again, can see how this was a problem in your assignments. Okay, let's look at another one that was given. So again, you guys some of you have nice calculators that when you look at something like this, you can just substitute. So let's first write it out, the process, and then let's see if we can substitute or we need to get an answer. So in the graph, so we've got a log graph, and what they say, this passes through the line of 8 and 2, and we will need to calculate the value of b. So basically what we will need to do is to replace, so 2 is equal to log b 8. Okay, so what would you have done in this instance? Um, any idea? Was this also from assignment 2? Then at least one can think what it will be, but it will, yep. Okay, so also assignment 2. So that would have been part of, where's the log? The quadratic function, so it would have been the exponential functions on page 177 to 188. So it would have been part of of that that component of your work. So even though it talks about the linear equations and the log equations and those kind of things, you must be able to nearly use that as a formula. So any ideas what we would have done in this instance? Okay, so I just want to quickly check something. So what you can do is to say, okay, and again, that I've seen in other exam papers to do that sometimes it's the easiest to put that numbers in. That is one way to do it. Let's quickly just rewrite this in a simpler form.
So to the exponent 3.
Sorry, repeat that quickly. Okay. Okay, so 2 to the, or let's go to 8. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 2 to the power of 3. So with this, there might be something in it. If you look at some of those answers, what else would you guys have done with this one? So the 2 to the power of 3 nearly gives me an idea of something here. What else might one be able to do? Any ideas? Can one break this the log up? Can one look at something to to change about it. Can one rewrite it like something like this? So what I'm just, if we multiply that out, can one do something like that, where we say, okay, so you guys need to tell me before we go on, what are we allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. Are we allowed to do this? Any ideas? What do we know about the log rules and the base? So let me get that. Where was it in? Where was the log rules? And again, I know it is in one of the presentations. Let me quickly, and I probably have used one of these in the presentation. So let me show you quickly. And remember, you are allowed, it is open book. So you guys are allowed to use notes and all of those things. Okay, there's a hand. There is a hand, so you can quickly ask a question. Okay, so let's quickly just look at those rules. And if there's a problem with the sound, you can always type as well. It might be that. So look at that one, log BMN. So that's one that one can look at. Okay, so that's one. There's that one component. So we could have said 2 is equal to 3 times log b to the power of 2. So we can divide it. So that one will fall away. Okay, so that is what we have at the moment. 2 over 3 is equal to log b 2. So let's look at how we do that. So it is then log A, log B. So basically, that is log 2 over log B, which is equal to 2 over 3. So let's just multiply both sides out by log B. So log B is actual fact and let's just quickly do that. Log 2, and to get rid of it, 2 over 3, we will multiply on both sides by 3 over 2. So we get that log B is equal to 3 over 2 log 2. Okay, so by using all the log definitions, that is to what I've worked. So I think that is really the important thing is, and that's why I've really wanted to ask you guys the whole time. So that is what we really need to remember every time is within this. It looks very difficult, but when you look at the rules, it becomes more easier to nearly work it out. I just want to see if I actually get one of the answers. Because it feels to me that I'm not getting one of the answers. Okay, so X is 8, Y is 2. So that was done correctly. It is 2 to the power of 3. Okay, so that we can write in the front. So 3 log B to the power of 2. 3, so it is 2 over 3 log B2. Okay, so why is this not working? Because that is definitely not one of those answers. 2 to the power of 3 is 8, that is x. X is 8 and y is 2. So this is now weird. So if we just use that rule, again, this is not right. All of this is worked out right. So where did I now make a mistake? Did I swap something around here? I just need to now quickly see. Log B M N. It was N. It was log B. It was M. That is right. I was there answer to this one because again it feels like this is not working out. Yeah, it does not. I'm worried that these two numbers are turned around. If that was 2 and that was 3 over, it would have been different. I'm now worried these two numbers are turned around because nothing works for that. So if you think about it, so let's just write it as log that, because this is another way to write it. Log 8 over log b is equal to 2. So log b is equal to log 8 divided by 2. And that is why, again, this one, let's quickly, that was with 2 and you take out the 3. So again, it's, yeah, there's definitely in this one a mistake. Okay, because it's 8 of log divided by 2. Yeah, it's 1 comma. I get that b should be equal to 1 comma 04. That's the same that we get here is b is equal to 1 comma 04. And none of these is equal to 1 comma 04. So let me just check. What is the square root of 2 times 2? So that is over 2. That's not that, not that. Yeah, so I think what happened here is that those two were swapped around. It would be interesting to see if anybody else have this in one of your previous assignments, and if the X and Y was maybe swapped around. Let's quickly check, just for interest's sake. Because, okay, so if we work it out with what they give us, B must be equal to 1 comma 04, and nothing of that is 1 comma 04. So let's say that was 8, that was 2. That was 8, that was 2. So log 4 will be equal to log, okay, so that will also not work because that is now even becoming smaller. Okay, so here's definitely a mistake with this question. Yeah, no, it even becomes smaller. So it's also not that those two are swapped around. Okay, so that will also not even work. Okay, so by basically both processes, we should get that b is equal to 1 comma 04. Okay, so that's why this one is a bit of a tricky one. Yeah, see, even if we divide things by, or 2 divided by that, 2 divided by, let me quickly check the square root of 3. Yeah, no, nothing Yeah, so this is a weird one. There's something in this that is not adding up. It's not gelling. So this was one of those that I think there was something in here that they changed, and then this didn't change accordingly. Even if one says square root of 3 divided by 2, it also doesn't give us what we're looking for. Yeah, square root of 2 gives us 1,4. So if we, yeah, okay, so no, there's definitely something not right here. The guys that also tried it, what was your answer to this? Did you get also nearly 1,04? Did you get something totally out of whack as well, that it's not even close to mine as well? But yeah, I think there was probably something that in here should have changed differently. Um, so if it was, that was, so even if we say log 8 divided by log 2, okay, so it could have been, that should have been 3, so it might have been that if that is 8, that's 2, that would have been 3. So it is probably with this combinations of 8, 2, and 3 that somewhere it changed and the answers didn't change as well. Okay, so yeah, so let's this one. So if there is something like this in your exam where you really don't, the other ones is that is formulas that we need to apply. This is just the basics of the log rules, and this definitely is not correct. Okay, so this is not even to go and look at a different answer. We've tried for one formula, we tried for other way of breaking it up, and both times I get the same answer, but the numbers just doesn't help here. Okay, so if you get something like this in the exam, please let me know afterwards that there was something that you think was wrong, that we can just make 100% sure that we can at least flag it with the lecturers, or even the exam department, that they just need to 100% make sure that a question like that will not be regarded for you guys in the exam. Okay, the other one that was also, I think, very, very difficult to work out is this one that was shared, because again, if one look at what they're asking us here, is that you need to use the data, And with this data, you need to work out a standard deviation. But all our previous work on standard deviations and those kind of things, we actually had a number, so we could have seen what the data looks like. So there is a formula for you guys to use on page 345 of the study guide. I'm going into 346. Okay, so the standard deviation for data in a frequency table. So basically the first thing that in this instance you needed to work out was a midpoint. So you needed to work out a midpoint for each of the intervals. Then that midpoint you are going to multiply with the frequency. So the midpoint you're going to multiply with a frequency. So for each one, you're going to multiply that with a frequency. So we might even want to pull this into Excel. But basically then you will do a sum of the frequencies, a sum of this midpoint. I'm sorry, it's frequency. Let me just get it right. Frequency times midpoint square. Okay, so you will then add that together, and then you will say 1 minus the other. So let's quickly, I'm going to build this into Excel just to make it a bit simpler for now. One can always redo it in a table, but let's just, so that's the speed, that's the frequency, 105.5 to 110.5 to 115.5. So let's quickly, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 105, 110, 110, 115, 115. Yeah, 125 and 150. Then on this side, it's 125.5. Yeah, so what I'm going to show in Excel, I'm going to show you all the calculations as well. I just want to quickly, so most of it, the calculations I will quickly show you how to do it as well. So I just want to quickly check 105 to 110.05, 110. Okay, it looks looks quite right. 2, 4, 5, 10, 9, 5. Okay, so you need to work out the midpoint. So the midpoint, basically how you work it out is you take the top one minus the bottom one and you divide it by 2. Okay, so because my the ones that I typed in Excel doesn't pick up the numbers, this you would need to do in any case with your calculator. So you would have needed to say the top one, 110.5 minus 105.5. That gives me 5, and I will need to divide that by 2. But now your midpoint is not 2.5. You still need to add it to that bottom part. So in the end, it will be easier just to use nearly a table to write this on. So where this would have been now 5 divided by 2, so it was 2.5. So you could then just add it to that bottom. So 2.5 plus that is 108. So what you can now see is you can just add 2.5 every time to the bottom one. So if I add 2.5, it's 113, and you will now see the other nearly similarity coming out. So now add 2.5, so it's 118. So now you can see it basically increases with 5 every time because your class width was also 5. So the midpoint will just increase every time by 5. So there is your midpoints of those 6 intervals. Okay, so to work out the sum of the frequencies was we just needed to add all of those. Let's quickly move this away and let's just redraw it. But so again, still not using nearly Excel for this. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 5 is 11, 21, 21, 21, 30, 35. Please just make sure that that is what you get as well. So now the part that, again, no issue if we use the calculator. So it's the frequency times that midpoint, which is 108, but to the power of 2. So now it does become bigger numbers. So that's why I just want to move that component over to Excel, so that I can do that calculation much easier. So it would have been 108, 113, 118, 123, 128, 133. So what I now would do is to say it's the 2 times that midpoint to the power of 2. So that you would now need to do for all of them. So now it does become very time consuming. Again, this was this repeated in your mock exam or only in the assignment? Because it does feel this is a lot of work for, okay, only assignment. Okay, because it does really feel a lot of work for an exam question. Because, okay, so the frequencies is fine. This is fine to work out, but to go now and multiply all of this out, it really does take a lot of time. So I will not be surprised if they might even give you, if they repeat something like this in the exam, that they give the total to you in the exam, so that they nearly give that to you, so that, because it is a lot of work to do every time. So you now needed to multiply that out, then say 4 times 113, get that answer. So it's a lot of calculation work on the calculator. So you could, by every time, you could write that down as you work it out. And then if you do the sum of that, it will give you 531,215. So it is a big sum, because it is big numbers that we are working with. But then let's quickly just check what the formula is, so that you have this as well. I will add it, and I'm making a big note of this one. I am going to add it to your formula page, so that if you guys need it, you you can use it. So the formula is basically that sigma times m2. So it is that thing that we have there, minus n times the mean. And do we actually have a mean? That is another question. Divided by n minus 1. So let's quickly check, what do we have? Frequency of sample of traveling on, was the mean given? Yeah, because how are we going to work out the mean if it is not given? Was there maybe a part of this that was cut off? Fourteen, 11. So they need to give us, so was this average of something? I just see that, so that there needs to be, this average needs to be given to you. So we've got the 5, 3, and maybe let's do the average to, we can't really say 35 divided by 6. So they need to at least give us what the mean is. Yeah, they haven't given us the mean. So what we need in this calculation is that mean value. Okay, there isn't a way that one can see there was something extra to this question, because what is needed is that mean. Because it could also have been that they say at the bottom here, the best estimate of a standard deviation of the speed of the vehicles rounded to 2 decimals. Okay, so they probably in there gave average. So let's quickly see. And if I didn't, that, let's quickly check what might the mean have been. So I'm just gonna put in a mean. So it would have probably been around 120. So let's just put in something like around 120. If I just look at the speeds, there's 13 there's 14 above. So the chances is that it is probably around, so let's say 125. But they need to give you the mean, because you can't work out the mean with this. And so they need to give you what the mean is. So let's say I'm guessing around 125. If I just look at the spread in the data, there's around 12 numbers below in that range of 20. There's, yeah, so let's say that let's see how close we get to one of the numbers. So remember again, this is still standard deviation, variance, sorry. To get the standard deviation, we need to square root. Sorry about that. So let's say that was 125 plus 53. Okay, it doesn't really make that bigger difference. Okay, so if I work that out, I get roughly 124.48. So did any one of you guys, when you worked it out, get 123? So if this is changed a bit, let's say to 120, that might just bring that up a bit more. Yeah, so depending on what the mean is, and I just now used the mean to say, I think the mean is somewhere going to be probably in the middle. So if I use this formula of the sum of those frequencies times the midpoint square, it's that formula minus the n times the mean, divided by n minus 1. So my variance would have been that big number. And if I take the square root of that, I get around 124, which seems like option C. So even if the mean was, okay, wait, I see there was a mistake in my formula. Okay, so that might, let me just quickly work that out again. That might influence the, okay, so that now makes it very tricky because now it can be, okay, so let's quickly change that to say 120. So again, if you guys still have access to this question from, again, probably assignment 2 or 3, just check if I have mentioned what that average is, because that might determine if we go now with one of those answers. So let's say it was 120. I will show you what we get if it is 120, we get 531,215 minus 504,123 divided by 34. So the bigger the mean becomes, the smaller that gap is becoming. So when I used 125 as the mean, it was actually bigger than the other one. So that's why I nearly didn't want to use the 125 anymore. I see then, let's say 531,215 minus 504,123. So that is 27,200. If we say divide by 34, we get 800. So then if we take the square root of 800, again, there isn't one of those answers probably. So again, what we are needing in this one, then we get 28. See, and that's also not, so the formula is right. That is the frequency times the midpoint to the power of 2. So that is 100%. That is minus n times the mean to the power of 2 divided by n minus 1. So the formula is right, but what we are looking for is just to get that average right. So if, again, so let's look at it. If it was 115, the average, then that gap becomes bigger. So then one will nearly have, let's quickly check. So that does make a big difference what that is. So if that becomes 115, then suddenly your whole answer, and that is just by 5, your answer suddenly becomes 261. Okay, so we nearly have a big spectrum here one can play with. So if it became 125, it was close to 2,77. So again, so nearly the one that is important for us is to get that, whatever that mean is. So the rest is, again, it does take a lot of time to work it out. Um, so that is why something like this will most likely not be in your exam, but what they might give you is this total. You still need to maybe work that out. They will give you the mean. So they might give you a lot of the input to work it out. Um, if they want to do something like this in the exam, they probably will stop at 3 points, but you don't need to work out all 6 of them. So that you nearly need to work out that one, that one, that one, add all of them together as being your sum of. So I think it's still important that you know how to do it, because they can just make the table smaller so that you still need to do it. They will not give you a 6, 7, or 8 um, ranges and then you need to work it out. But the critical thing that I think that was cut off here is I need to know what the mean is, because you can't work out the mean like we now did with a sum of this. There isn't a formula to work out the mean if you get a frequency table. Okay, so we need to get that before we can work out anything else. Okay, so again, can fully understand why something like this was a headache in the assignment. It is just not difficult, it is also very time consuming, and very easy to make a mistake in that. Let's even check if if this was, so at least it looks like those ones are correct, but it's very easy also to make even a mistake in that calculation. So that's why, again, it really is, it's more time consuming than anything else, and then one needs to be very sure that when you do it, you do it correctly, that you don't need to in the exam nearly need to redo it. Okay, so please, if anyone still has access to the assignment that this was part of, just check for me what if there was an average number that was given. I will go and check some of the photos that was sent on the group as well. Maybe one of them have that component in. So I will just go and look, because that, okay, so how did that sentence end nearly? So they say the frequency distribution of the speed in kilometers per hour of a sample of vehicles travel on a national highway just. So, sheesh. That is hmm, that is quite interesting. Let me, okay, there's nothing in your, and that might add to the confusion. There's nothing in your study guide that at all says how to work out the mean of a frequency table. Let's quickly check if there is. And so let's just, if anybody else have a way to work out the mean of a frequency table, I haven't seen some of. Sure. Okay, so let's quickly add this. Again, this is a bit unfair to you guys if you needed to group data frequency table. Okay, so I now Googled this. It's not in the table at all, or in the study guide at all. So this is a bit unfair if you also needed to, and that's why it feels like this will not be in the exam. But let's quickly, okay, so I'm just gonna quickly just build that into, so mean, so the sum of your interval midpoint time your frequency. So interval midpoint. Okay, so it's everything, just not the power to the power of 2. So the sum of that divided by total frequency. Shish. Okay, so I have not. Okay, so that is why. Okay, so what I've now done, I'm learning something new tonight as well. I have not done something like this in ages. Okay, so what I've done is taken the frequency. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to share this with you guys as well, that you have the Excel. Um, oh, page 331. I have not done something like this in ages. So now you can see how they throw the different questions in between. Okay, so it's basically how I now did describe it. So it is the sum of the frequency times the midpoint divided by the frequency. Okay, this is a lot of work if you needed to do this in the exam, to be honest. So that is for your mean, and then this is for your standard deviation sum. Okay, this is really a bit ridiculous. Okay, so what was that? 125. Or sorry, I worked out the mean as 123. Okay, so it was very close to that, the original one that I guessed 125. So let's quickly check now if this is actually coming out as one of these answers. So 123 to the power of 2 times 35 gives me 529515. So 531215 minus 529515 is equal to 1700. Okay, 1700 divided by 34 is 50. Yeah, okay. So variance would have been 50. So even now, if you have done all of this, you can still pick the wrong one because you want standard deviation and not that. Okay, 7,07. Goeieste. Okay. Yes. This is really a long question for you to actually have done it in the exam. So what is included here that we need to do is basically, let me just add it for you guys, to say frequency times midpoint. So then if you do the sum of that, so the sum of that divided by n will give you the mean of 123. Okay, so they really in the assignment tested that you nearly look at all the ways of calculating this. And so let's mean for this. Let's quickly, I just want to check while we are now looking at frequency tables that there isn't another. So mean is covered on page 331. I'm just going to say the pages that this is from. So 331 to get to the mean. The standard deviation part is page 346. To check, is there also, just for interest's sake, a mode one can't really get for the frequency table? And can one get the median. I just want to make 100% sure that they don't now ask you to do a median from a frequency table as well. So it does not seem like it. Okay, so, ew, okay, this was, all of them was actually very hard questions to do. Hopefully all of them wasn't the same assignment, because that is really, really not great. If all of them was from one assignment, then one can now fully understand why you guys were struggling with this assignment, because it is supposed to be easy questions linked to the assignment as well. So, okay, was this from, at least from assignment 3? Sure. Okay, so again, first need to work out the mean, and then we need to work out the standard deviation, and then we actually can be tricked in getting the variance of the answer. So after you've done all of this calculation, you can still be getting it wrong because you pick the variance instead of the standard deviation. Okay, this is a lot of struggles in these questions. So let's look at probably the last one. Round your answer to this question to the nearest year. First, find the number of years it will take for 748 Rand to increase by 72% if it is invested at the interest rate of 7.9% per annum, compounded semi-annually. Okay, so if it increases by 72%, how much will that new value be? Okay, so 748 must increase by 72%. So that new value will be 748 times 1.72. So that new value will be 1286.56. Okay, so you can also, if you divide that by 748, you will get 1.72 again. So that's the increase of 72%. Okay, so they tell us find the number of years it will take the 748 to increase to 1286.56 if an interest rate of 7.9% per annum is compounded semi-annually. Okay, so we can look at this formula nearly to work that out. So I would probably have used also my calculator or my financial calculator for this one. So let me just quickly check if we can get something. So 748 would have been 1, 2. So let's quickly do this. And if I somewhere write something wrong, please just let me know early in the calculation. So I'm dividing by P on both sides. I'm sitting with this formula, so let's already substitute because we have most of it. So we've got our interest rate is 0,079, compounded semi-annually. So what I understand from that is that it is done twice a year. So we basically will need to work that out. So let's just 100% make sure it is twice a year. Okay, so what they want you to do with this one now is, again, so from which assignment did this come from? Nearly, probably again, where from assignment 2, because it's a combination again of your financials plus working with a log and the exponential and those kind of things. So I assume, okay, so my answer is 14. So let's just quickly get to, so 1286.59 divided by 748. Obviously 1,72 because that was the increase. And we can actually, okay, could have only used that. Then it is 0.079 divided by 2 plus 1. So that is 1,0395. Okay, so what we will do is go back to your rules of log again. So let's just quickly see if I take log on both sides, 5. So now I can say that divided by log 1.0395. Okay, that is equal to 2t. So let's quickly check what that will be. So 1.72 log is, I get 0,5423 divided by 1.0395 log. Okay, let me just quickly work that out again. 1.72 log is 0,5423. 1.0395 log 0,0385 0.74. Okay, so that tells me that that is equal to 14. Okay, so this is now okay. So I originally also got 14, but T is equal to 7. Okay, so again, the catch here is, so it is 14 semi-annual, so 14 half years. Okay, they ask us find the number of years. Okay, so that is another catch in this one is we've got 14 periods, so it is the 14 half years, but 14 half years is actually 7 years. Okay, so very important when we get to this answer that we see it in times of how many years. Okay, so again, they give us the 14 half years, which is actually correct, but they want us to report the answer in how many years. Okay, so again, important. The number of periods would have been 14, but the number of years is 7. Okay, sheikh, this was not an easy one tonight. So gonna stop the recording. Gonna share it with you guys.